Hey everybody, we're back for the second half of today's seafaring double feature, the 1941 movie, The Seawolf, starring Edward G. Robinson, Ida Lupino, and John Garfield. Now in this movie, which takes place in the early 1900s, escaped convict George Leach, John Garfield, signs on as a crew member on the Ghost ship to get away from the police. Another escaped convict, Ruth Brewster, Ida Lupino, and a writer, Humphrey Van Weyden, Alexander Knox, both end up on the ship after the ferry they were on was hit by another ship in a fog. On board the Ghost, they meet Captain Wolf Larsen, Edward G. Robinson, a cruel man who rules his ship with an iron hand. Leach tries to lead the men in mutiny against Larsen several times, while Van Weyden tries to understand him, especially after he sees Larsen suffering from headaches that are slowly making him go blind. When the rest of the crew finds out that Larsen is slowly going blind, they turn on him. Now, when it was released back in 1941, The Seawolf turned out to be a big success. The movie ended up being reissued again in 1947 as part of a double feature with The Seahawk. Due to the length of the two movies, both were cut in the original camera negatives, be fit in a shorter time frame. As a result, the shortened versions were the only versions available for a long time. While Seahawk was restored to its original length in the 1980s, the Seawolf wasn't quite so lucky at that time. Apparently, though, actor John Garfield's estate had a 16mm copy of the full film, but the picture quality would have been obviously terrible for the scenes that would have been restored using that. But Warner Brothers did, however, find a 35mm copy at the Museum of Modern Art, which they restored and released to both Blu-ray and DVD in late 2017. And I personally can attest to the fact that the movie looks wonderful. As to the movie itself, I can only speak to the complete version, as, quite frankly, I hadn't even heard of the movie before it was announced for release on Blu-ray and DVD. One thing I feel I should say right off, I have a very hard time recommending this movie for little kids, if only because of the brutality of some of the characters, especially Edward G. Robinson's Wolf Larsen. I mean, the character seems to favor the line, "Better to reign in hell than to serve in heaven," from Milton's Paradise Lost. And he lives that way as far as how he treats his crew. I mean, he drives the ship's doctor to kill himself, essentially. He beats up on some of the men. He turns the ship's cook to the men after he outs him as an informer, since he gave him the names of the men who were trying to mutiny against him, and that ship's cook gets dragged in the water and then has part of his leg eaten off by a shark. Yee. As I said, I don't recommend the movie for young children. But at the same time, that's also up to the parents, so... This movie, I think this movie seems to have fallen through the cracks, at least partly because of the cuts. Now that it is whole again, I believe very strongly that it deserves to be more widely seen. I think it to be one of the great hits, and I recommend it very, very highly. Now, as I said, the movie is available on Blu-ray and DVD from Warner Archive Collection, and it's full length at 1 hour and 40 minutes in length. Well, that's all for this double feature, so tune in again next week for your regular videos.